I'm sorry. I cut you off. Go ahead.
That's okay. Even the store owner of, like, the place where he got shot outside of,
yeah,
was like, yeah, he just came in, he knew him. Like, he was like, we were just joking along with each other, like, and then for them to release for another video to come out just a little while ago that shows them taking the gun out of his pocket after they've already shot him, but then they said gun before they shot. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, right. You already have the dude on the ground, restrained. You shoot him, talking about gun, and then the gun was in his pocket.
Right.
But it's that whole script, They know they need to say that there's a gun, so that way they can say that there's, plausible evidence to shoot him or whatever the case might be. Right. And these body cameras just conveniently fall off. And I'm sure they'll say that the body camera fell off, but the audio is still available, right? And so, of course, they'll have the audio of them saying gun and then hearing shooting, them not knowing that they were being recorded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they didn't know that. They didn't know. They didn't know that. And like I said earlier, if it wasn't recorded, we wouldn't have this conversation. That was it. Just think about how many other situations that happened that wasn't recorded, that hasn't even been counted into the 500 plus that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot, man. Just think about it. Alton happened to see in this. The first thing I started doing when I finally saw the first recording of what happened, from the person's cell phone, was I try to put myself in the shoes of the person that was doing that. And I was saying to myself, like, I would do that because I'll be, at this point, I'm saying, even before this, like, I need to record everything you see cops doing. And I don't even think that's passive to me. I don't think that's passive resistance at all. I think you need to, because what that does is that, you already know that they're not trying to show anything. So it's time for us to put everything that they're doing on camera. Panthers was doing it. They wasn't just with guns out there, they were monitoring what they were doing. We have the right to monitor what they're doing. But I was just, in my mind saying to myself, wow, like, you're actually recording a black man getting killed right in front of you. Mm-hmm. Like, you're actually sitting up there and you're witnessing it. And I'm like, man, wow. Just to think about that no one wakes up out of their sleep. No one wakes up on a morning and just says, you have to prepare for something like this. Now we got to prepare for something like this every day of our lives. Because I'm saying to myself, even with the body cams, they could conveniently turn them off anytime they want to. And my thing is, body cams, you've had Eric Garner on tape. You've had, I forgot the brother's name. I feel bad for forgetting his name. I think it was Freddie Gray, the one that was running away and got shot in the back.
Walter Scott, thank you.
Walter Scott. Both of them was on camera. They both got away. Both the cops got away. So what's the point of the footage and these are, one of them was from the person who knew Eric Garner, and he got indicted. And then the other one was from the police cam in the cop's car for Walter Scott. So how is their camera going to do anything if you already have a judicial system that from city, state, federal are not doing anything about this at all? What that's telling us as a people, that we don't have any other friends other than ourselves. We have to do everything on our own. Like, it's a great thought that maybe someone can look at this and say, okay, this was wrong. But you got to realize, like you said, the moment the cop says gun, immediately that gives them justification for what they did. So they're going to it's always going to be our word against the cops, because all they got to do is say gun. And from one recording I saw today, from a witness that they were interviewing, he said he didn't see a gun until after he was killed. So you got to realize when that camera, once Alton gets shot that one time, the camera gets, it starts, you could tell the person gets rattled by seeing him get shot. You don't see anything else after that. You hear the gunshots, but you don't see what they do. So I can't put it past them, even if he had a gun. But Louisiana's an open carry state. But, of course, black people, that don't mean shit for you. But I wouldn't put it past them that they could have planted that on him. It's come on, man. My thing now is, okay, it ain't what we gonna do about it in terms of running around with signs in our hand, with picket signs and screaming in the street. I'm at the point where I'm like, because I already know people from Baton Rouge that I've met at jobs. Baton Rouge is no joke. Baton Rouge is no joke. They don't have like Houston here where we got brothers, rather than deal with racism, white supremacy, you got brothers doing rallies for black on black crime. I'm like, what? And what's funny is they'll argue you down about how that's more important than being shot by white people. I'm trying to understand that. And see, when I say being shot by white people, my thing is this. You rarely have anybody, of course you got the stars, whatever, white, whatever, that come out and say something, but you don't have white citizens on a large scale saying this needs to change. Because why would I want to change the situation if I'm benefiting from it myself? That's the one thing I try to get people to understand is that if I'm benefiting from something and it's in my favor, why would I want the situation to change? What's the point of trying to get people to see? And this is one thing we got to stop doing, and I've stopped doing this myself. Stop arguing with white people about what's going on. All they're going to do is keep saying the same exact thing to you about every single situation. They're going to find any excuse to say that he deserved to get shot. So why even have those conversations? I don't care where it is. I don't care if it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, to whatever, Tumblr, cares. Like, why even have these conversations anymore? I'm just done talking about it. My thing is we do have to have an avenue where we could speak, which is this. But at the same time, I'm done talking about what we need to do because we already know what we need to do. That's the thing. There is no real insurrection without any form of bloodshed. It doesn't exist. And we've been trying to basically avoid it for as many times as possible, but it's inevitable. And I've seen people say to me, well, of course, social media, this is just a way for them to bait us into something. My thing is this, and I'm not saying that that's a wrong statement at all. I'm not saying that's wrong. My thing is that, look, they're already killing you. What's the point of trying to intellectualize what's going on if it's happening to you one by one? Intellectualizing it only creates this mindset that at some form, if I do something spiritual, it's going to make me above the situation. I'm not even going to have that conversation because to me, you're wasting time. My thing is that sounds fine and dandy. What are you going to do about it if it's directly in your face? Because Alton Sterling couldn't avoid it, as people will say, well, if he wasn't doing this, then this would not have happened. I've read black people say this. If he wasn't out there I'm like, dude, if you're out there vending, if he knew the people in the store, he really wasn't doing anything wrong. Technically, he really wasn't. He was doing nothing wrong. And we got to also stop trying to, again, justify what's happening to us because it makes us look like coons. We do. We keep trying to say, well, this happened and this, maybe he shouldn't have. It's the maybe he shouldn't have is fear, because then that would make what I'm saying to myself is that if I don't do what he did, then I'm an exception to what happened. That's what that's telling myself, which is clearly not the case. Me as a black man or just a black woman, Black women and black men are, as Tariq Nasheed said, one hashtag away, one stop from being a hashtag, or just we're one police encounter from being a hashtag. You understand? That's it. I don't have any more. At this point, there's no conversation we need to have anymore. Even if it's not even on social media with white people, casual conversation with white people about this. You're not going through this, and you really don't care. You just want to have a conversation. You just want to be my white supervisor at this point. I'm not talking about your job. I'm saying period. Because the thing is, with white people, they're happier if they can keep their Negroes quiet. That's the reality. If I can keep you quiet, or if I can, the thing is, if they can control our conversations, then they're cool with that. Because then they can say, oh, okay, well, we got them going back to the courts. We got them under the Sharptons and the Jacksons and all that stuff, because they've been those that have been relegated or designated to be over what we do. And that's the problem. And I think even with what I saw, and this is still connected, but this is separate, with what John Lewis did, the whole sit-in thing. My thing is, it's 2016, with all this shit going on, your focus is doing a sit-in with your other white colleagues. That right there, for me, when I saw it, I was like, that's nigga shit to me. Because all this shit going on, your focus is in the house, proverbially and literally, but when it comes time for black people, you ain't got nothing to say. Now, he can talk. John Lewis can talk all day because he's been talking for years. He's been talking for 50 freaking years. But at the same time, we got to get to a point where we don't even trust people like him. Like, it's over. Go back in the house with white folks where you belong, because you ain't got no place over here with us. Like, this is literally our own fight. Like, we don't have, like, anyone else that we can really connect ourselves to, because our situation is unique to ourselves. Every other race, if anything, if you watch, I'm not saying Latinos don't have a problem with the situation, but you don't see it on a world stage like this. Even when Latinos was in this country in the 50s and 60s, you didn't see them hanging from no trees. You saw us hanging from trees. You didn't see them getting shot in the street and dogs being sick. You only saw black people. So it's almost like time is revolving back to what was going on before, because it was never actually resolved in any real way. It was just people coming to a table and negotiating what we should do, or negotiating this Civil Rights Act that really didn't do shit for black people anyway. It put us in a worse condition than we were prior. And I know a lot of people were wondering why, I started studying the whole Boule thing, is because it's still relevant now. Because the Boule, if they did not make, because the whole inception of it was based on whites creating this buffer class of black people to watch over black people, to make sure there's no real black liberation movement after Marcus Garvey. And they succeeded, because to this day, the people that we rely on, from Barack Obama to other black politicians, and the only black politician that is not in that society is Cynthia McKinney. Those black politicians have basically almost is now leading us into the gas chamber, because none of them are coming into our neighborhood saying, this is what they plan on doing to you. This is what they're going to do to you at some point. You need to do this. You need to do that. They're not preparing us for anything. They're just creating different forms of complexes in our mind that at some point everything's going to be okay as long as you vote for me. And we got to get off that shit, man. I know it's hard. This is disheartening and it's heartbreaking, but we got to let the whole, at some point, the system will prevail shit. We got to let that shit go, because it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We got to be able to push people away from us that are not talking about real black liberation. You mean to tell me every race has a right to defend themselves except black people? That doesn't make any sense. I know we're non-ether beings. I understand that. I overstand that. But that's not an excuse to not carry a gun. Your non-ether is not going to stop your physical body from being shot, okay? At some point, you have to protect yourself. You have to defend yourself. Don't sit up there and tell me that you don't want to defend yourself, but if I'm walking down the street and I step on your shoe, you're going to be able to punch me in the head. But if anyone else did that, now you're talking about, well, non-ether is supposed to, no, that's scared Negro conversation I don't have. I don't want to have that anymore with you. I don't care who it is. I don't have conversations like that anymore. When it's time to work, it's going to be time to work. When it happens, it happens. Kadeem Hardison was right. I think this is it. And Baton Rouge is no joke. People think Baton Rouge is like passive compared to New Orleans. Baton Rouge is worse. It's just that with New Orleans for a long time, it was in other pockets. It was, 3rd Ward, 9th Ward, 5th. It was, in different areas with different projects, whereas from what I learned, it's all in mostly one area. And people got to realize this is going to be an overnight situation. Black people, I'm talking about on a large scale. As you can see, you don't have to comment on nothing no more. Just observe. You go on social media, just look at different pages of what's going on with the Alton Sterling post and just read what we're saying. You see us saying, fuck this, like constantly. Fuck this. Fuck this. He's our enemy. That's it. Because the thing is that when you've been taught in this society that we're all the same, we're all together, we're all human, and then you're being woken up that that's not the case, that's going to do something to you. We've all been brought up in this situation to think that at some point the system is going to work for everybody, but then when you're a normal, intelligent human being and you're watching that is not working for you, how else are you supposed to respond to this? And see, people get mad at this point when you say, okay, we're going to have to do something physical because it's all fear. But you can't be afraid no more. You got to already know at this point something's going to have to happen physically to any one of us at any given time for something to stop. They can throw all the tanks out. They can do all that shit. It don't make much of a difference because at the end of the day, we have to be able to protect ourselves. And we have to, as men, we have to be able to protect our women and our children. We have to be able to get to a point where we're not caring about death anymore because black men at this point walk around intimidated. As much as we would like to not believe that, we do. We walk around intimidated. And we have to not be intimidated no more. I'm done being intimidated by any group. I don't care who you are. Again, our situation is only unique to us, black people. Our situation is only unique to us. I don't have time to have conversations with Moors or Hebrews or whatever you want to call yourself about what we want to call ourselves and where we should go. If you start talking that shit to me, I'm going to end the conversation because that means that you, my friend, you would rather have basically, you would rather intellectualize everything than actually do what is the most human response you can ever have, which is what is an action to you will be an equal or opposite reaction. You're either going to run or you're going to respond back physically back to the person who's trying to oppress you. That's it. There's no, okay, what else can we do to avoid it? We're trying to avoid inevitable. If someone's constantly walking up on you and pushing you and punching you in the face, you can't, it don't work like that you can eventually make them stop by begging and pleading. We're trying to beg and plead, and they're like, no, we're not going to stop killing you. It is what it is. And we have to realize, the main thing that we have to realize is that we are alone in our situation. That's the main thing that I want to get our people to see. We're not with anybody else because no one else is like, yo, I'm with you. I'm with you over here. I'm with you over here. I don't see that. I don't see it because it's not happening. That's it. It's ridiculous. This is ridiculous. You know, that's why I'm at the point where we have to consolidate with people. It doesn't matter what organization you're a part of. It's people of like mind. I don't care about that shit. If people are still making that the number one focus, you need to go take a hike and leave. If it's all about your organization and your this, I don't want to talk to you anymore because you're a waste of space and time. That's real. You know, stop wasting black people's time telling them what they need to read, what they need to say, and you don't have an answer for this. I don't want to hear what you have to say. And if your answer is just get out of the way, there's nothing that this man could have done to get out of that way. Even when I keep referencing back to Eric Garner could not have done anything any differently. There's nothing Eric Garner could have done to do anything differently. If there's anything he could have done different, I would like to know. But there's nothing he could have done differently. There's nothing Alton Sterling could have done differently. As you said, everybody knew this man. It's people who I've seen recently online as well, like, yo, this dude was a good dude. Everybody knew him. Everybody knew this dude. It wasn't, and then even just that conversation, we don't have to prove how good of a people we are, like as if we're a bad person or if he was a drug dealer, he deserved to get shot. Oh, man, forget that. Because we don't have these conversations about their people. They run around being pedophiles and rapists as white people. We're not talking about what he deserved to get shot. You don't never hear black people say stuff like that. That's just not in us to say. But when it comes to white people, they can say, well, he deserved it. You know what I'm saying? That's the nature of someone who is animalistic. Because you mean to tell me every time we have these conversations, you have to have something like that to say? That let me know at the end of the day that it's already a dividing line that they've already created. We just have to pay attention to it. That's it. It's crazy just to look at it. And I said to myself, you need to look at this tape as much times as you can. It's not about enraging yourself, but reality is, how can you not be enraged by something like this? How can you not be enraged, especially if you're one of his family? The fact that you had to watch his son saw this. His son saw his father die. What do you think how you think his son should feel? Well, he had to know he was a non-ether being, and yeah, okay. That's the kind of situation you should have? All right. That type of stuff, no, because this man did not deserve to die. None of us deserve to die. I don't care. I don't care who it is. This is our people. And at the end of the day, this is only our problem. I think it's a fairy tale in our minds because we really believe in tenets of being a human being that eventually people are going to come to our aid. But nobody's coming, sad to say. We have to solve this problem on our own. We have to find a way as men to come together with the right people, with the right mindset to say, what are we going to do about this? I don't mind talking to community leaders about what they're doing, but if it's not about this, because to me, if you're making a focus about what about black on black crime, then that means that you're trying to, in your mind, convince yourself that there is no war with this enemy and that it's within ourselves, that we somehow, some way is innately animalistic within ourselves. Because, again, the crime that we have in our own community is based on disenfranchisement over the past 40 to 50 years. So, again, our focus is this. And if your focus is not this, or whatever we can do to get out of this situation, I don't want to hear what you have to say. You're a waste of space to me. I don't care who you are. And that needs to be something that we all need to do. You have to test the spirit of the individual. And I said this last week. I said, test the spirit. Test the spirit of the person, meaning that has fear been put into you that much that you're not willing to do anything about this but create other diversions rather than actually deal with the actual problem. We have to deal with the problem. That's it. There's no more hands up, don't shoot. I'm done. I'm done with that, man. Because to me, if anybody jumps up and, creates this, fuck that. We need to have riots. It needs to be a riot. I'm sorry. They need to have, because really, our communities that we want to call our neighborhoods, we don't have no communities. Where we dwell, we don't make no money from that. So if there's a riot in Baton Rouge, whose money is going to be lost? Not ours. It's theirs. And see, what we try to say is this and try to justify why we shouldn't riot is perception. It don't look good. It don't look good to see niggas do that. That's what we say. It's the Uncle Ruckus in us that comes out to say stupid shit like that, man. That's all that is. We got this big Uncle Ruckus complex about us that we don't know how to let go. We like to always look good for white folks. They're going to look at you like animals anyway, so what difference does it make? It's not going to come a point where they're going to come in and say, because just look at it. Just look at the situation for what it is. The fact that he said gun, that cop said gun. So that automatically, if any district attorney will look at that tape, they're going to find a way to say, well, maybe he was doing this, maybe he was doing that. And they won't even try to argue the open carry, reasoning. It doesn't matter for black people. That ain't for you. That's for them. They can open carry and kill black people. This is ridiculous. We won't have to have any more excuses for this. There's no more excuses. There's no more the alternative to fighting back. There's no alternative to this. And if there's an alternative, I would like to hear it. Other than fighting back, people will say, okay, well, we need to repatriate, which I actually agree with that. We need to create our own government in our own country. Bottom line, because it's not going to be here. They in their minds as white people are saying, we took this country fair and square. We want you niggas off of it. We can't legally enslave you no more. We have enough of your slaves in the prison system, so we want you to leave or we're going to kill you. So you're going to have to create, as a people, your own government, your own country to get away from this. Even if it's back to our own country, our own native land somewhere in West Africa, we have to make that our own for our own people, because this right here should not be going on right now. Our children should not be seeing this. 15-year-olds, 10-year-olds. Alton Sterling's child, his oldest son, should not have seen his father die like this. That should not have happened. And we can't keep making reasons for why this happened. We got to get that out of our mind. The main thing is we got to get it out of our mind trying to justify what happened to us. This is ridiculous. Bottom line, it's ridiculous. I don't have no words for people who want to sit around and make excuses for it. I'm not about blaming anybody. The only people I'm blaming right now is the people who've done it, because he didn't deserve to die. He didn't. He did not deserve to die. I don't care. Just tired, man. We gotta do what we have to do to save ourselves. That's it.
Yeah, brother. It's not about success. It's not about all this other bullshit. It's about survival now.
That's it.
And I told everybody's in survival mode. You have to, and we as black men, as brothers, we have to watch out for our sisters. Even if they don't want it, we still look out for them anyway. I still do it. Because, you my black woman and I love you. Yeah. And I want to see that you get home safely to your children, even if it means my life. And I saw a sister at the gas station by herself. Sister, I'm staying here with you till you get in your car and drive off. Because, we have to be protectors of our women. It got to a point, brother, our women don't even trust us anymore. And it's so disgusting. I try to speak to a sister. She looked at me as if I was out to get her. But then she'll speak to a white man. Yeah. You know how disgusting that is? It made me feel. I'm like, damn. You know, and I'm just being a friend. I'm just saying hello and being kind and being, you know, respectful. And I still get disrespected.
Yeah.
So everything's survival mode. I still love my black woman regardless. We have to be protective. We have to be better men. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm striving to be a better man, be a better black man, so I can look out for the black woman. And we have to look out for ourselves and use wisdom. When I got pulled over by a car before, he was twirling his thumb on the gun while he was talking to me. So I came close to death.
Yeah.
You know, so I understand. But we have to use wisdom. You can't, you know, it also falls on us too, brother. We can't be acting a fool, being all belligerent with them, because that gives them excuse. Hey, they pull a gun and shoot you. It's a justifiable homicide. But we have to do our part to use wisdom too, brother.
Yeah, we can. And also, we can be as polite as we want to be. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference anymore, because when they can have a justification for doing it, you know, it's not going to make much of a difference. You know, we can try to be as polite as we can. We can follow all the rules that they give us. You know, just remain this, just do that. It's not going to change anything. And I've seen that. Even with you know, on this call, I've referenced back to Eric Garner several times. Eric Garner didn't do anything wrong. He didn't say, you know, F you cops, y'all ain't. He didn't do any of those things. He just stood there. He was trying to stop a fight. He was doing what a regular citizen would do.
Right.
So he wasn't belligerent. He wasn't disrespectful. They just did whatever they could to maliciously murder this man on camera. And that's it. And I think when people were saying that these are lynchings, yeah, they are lynchings. They are. This is what it is. These are lynchings that are on camera. You know, of course, you know, there were lynchings on camera before, but you can, you know, play it back and look at it as many times as you want. That's where we at now.
Yeah, brother, and it's not only so in the United States, it's also worldwide, but it's not as intense as it is here in America.
Right.
You know, and I'm working on getting my passport and a gun, so I'm working on that. So I'm doing my part, you know, to do my best, you know. But I mean, it starts for me to look out for my black woman. We have to do a better job and look out for each other. Let's cut out the crab mentality and let's unify. We got to be unified. There's no way around it. We all we got. Like CMD, we all we got. You know, because if they kill black men, they're going to start killing black women. Like they did Sandra Bland. They're going to start doing that.
They started killing her.
They're going to do more of that now.
Yeah.
Much more.
Because they see that you're not, as a black man, not you, you know, Ramos, but I'm just saying in general, that there's no repercussion.
Right.
You know, it's like anything. In repercussion, there's no repercussion for what you're doing. If someone's doing something, if you're doing something to somebody and you see, I can get away with it, you're going to keep doing it. So, or you're going to go even worse. You know, and it was funny. I was, you know, me and my mate Brittany were looking at Roots, and I was kind of like just, you know, my first time I ever saw it. And it was funny because there's so much symbolism in that, in Roots. People, of course, are at the point where they're done with slave movies. I'm done with slave movies as well. But I think with Roots, you got the first, when it first came out, this is still connected to the situation, it was about as raw as you can get, you know, other than Goodbye Uncle Tom. But the most peculiar part of Roots that I saw really are the characters, because we remember characters more than we remember the parts. You know, because I remember people, we talk about Fiddler, they talk about Kunta Kinte, they talk about Kizzy, and they talk about Chicken George. But the most peculiar character for me actually was Chicken George, ironically, because he was the first that I saw, other than Fiddler to an extent, that was creating like a coping mechanism to deal with the situation that he was in, the subjugation, because there's nothing else. What other life do you have other than being a slave? and your life is threatened 24 hours a day. You know, if you look like, you know, in my mind, you know, me, I'm crazy, so I'm comparing Fiddler to Chicken George. And with Fiddler, when Kunta Kinte first got, you know, of course, to the plantation, Kunta inspired Fiddler to be different. You know, it was almost like this analogy where you've never seen, like, let's say a person who is with black people, you might have like one black person who's kind of doing whatever he can to appease to whites, but then you get this one extremely revolutionary black man that makes such an impression upon him that he's like making him do things differently. And that was Fiddler, where it was like with Chicken George, it was like the way he was acting, and it was like, because the thing is, when black people begin to buck dance, they knew that at that moment, if I amuse this white man, he's not really a threat to my life at this specific moment. So if I amuse him and make him laugh and I entertain him, then I can divert the attention from me being killed. And one of the main parts I remember, I think it was the last episode where Chicken George and his son was they're trying to get back home, and they run into some I think it was Union soldiers. It was ironic, it was Union soldiers, and they were about to get killed. They were about to get killed by them and by bushwhackers on both sides. And Chicken George went into his routine. And, you know, it was coonish, but that was his survival tactic to not be killed. And his son at the time, I think that was his oldest son. His oldest son, before they had this really bad relationship, like, man, you left the family, you know, just to do what you wanted to do, and or go to another country and whatnot. It's like, no, I didn't leave. They took me. They sold me off. And they had you know, his son didn't respect him like that until he came back, you know, and his son realized what he was trying to do. Then he, you know, because the whole thing with Chicken George was, okay, no, I'm trying to come back and free my family, and he was subsequently able to do that. But just that part that I always get black people to realize is that for the most part, black people, and this is subconscious, we've been doing this in slavery, we tend to do things when we're around white people to try to calm down the subjugation. We'll buck dance and we'll coon just a little bit, we'll smile real hard, or we'll laugh a little harder, just so we can appease to them. And we know, you know, that's why for a long time in my life, just as a man, I was always told you need to smile more, you need to do this, you need to laugh, you need to do this, because I wasn't a real happy person. To this day, I'm around white folks, I don't need to laugh for you. I don't need to appease your emotion. And I think that I'm saying this to say, to tie into what we're talking about, we have to stop trying to cater to white people's emotions. You know, it was a coping mechanism in slavery. It was a survival tactic and all this other stuff. But what are we surviving if we're already being shot? They need to know we're not friends. You're my enemy. That's over. All this, let's come to the table and talk. Talk about what? Dr. King already negotiated with terrorists already, and we lost because of him. Now, we may not want to admit that, but there's information about him that I know that lets me know at the end of the day, we should not be exalting him as hard as we do. That's reality. And that's a whole other class that I'm going to get into. But the reality is this. We have to stop trying to, when we're around them, let me not say this, let me not say that, because when they want to disrespect you, they'll disrespect you in the most subtle way, and you won't even think about it until after they're done talking to you.
Yep.
Truthfully. They'll say something, you'll be like, what? You know, and I agree with Amos when he's like, we have to start, even if it's not sisters, it's brothers, we just got to start having conversation. Just see where the person's at. Just talk to them. You know, I have it bad myself where I'm like, sometimes I automatically assume, it ain't finna happen. I ain't gonna talk to you. Whereas now I'm kind of like, you know, let's talk. You know, let's see where we meet. I don't care about your religion no more. I don't care. I don't care what name, what you call yourself. That stuff is so trivial at this point. Again, we got to get to a point even with our own that look like us, that are so full of religion. I don't care what organization it is. If you're making your whole argument about what we got to call ourselves and what we need to do in terms of changing our status to this and our status to that, as opposed to actually having real conversation, we're not having a conversation no more. As far as I'm concerned, you are diverting the attention from our actual goals. Truthfully, I don't care. What are we going? I'm gonna say every time I turn around, you ask me something about we need to change ourselves to Hebrews and Moors. What does that have to do with white supremacy? That's the question I'm going to ask you to your face. What does that have to do with white supremacy? What does that have to do with ending white supremacy? So if I change my name to Bey or El or Yahweh Israel, then white supremacy is over? Does that mean at this point they're going to stop shooting my people in the street? So if we all turn around and start putting feathers on, then that means everything is over? And please don't listen to this and think I'm disrespecting Moors and stop getting emotional about it because I know how y'all are. Y'all take this and run with it. But this is reality. I'm talking about people who, for the most part, that I've watched create diversions away from our issues and our problems. You are not going to sit up here and tell, especially a child, because our children now have to see shit like this. You understand? We've been trying to protect them from this situation for so long. Even and this is a reality too. We got to start blaming our leader, our elder leaders, and I'm talking about those who was in this whole civil rights creation, or civil rights movement, which was all a freaking hoax in the first place because the shit was funded by the Zionists in the first place. We got to start looking at that situation. That's why I say Dr. Lily Fuller put it so bluntly, him and John Henry Clark, when it was like, no, you study history to look at your mistakes. You don't study history to deal with your ego. Right. You study your history to learn from your mistakes. What did we do wrong 50 years ago, the fact that we have to deal with this shit right now? What did we do wrong? Because I always say, okay, let's go back 50 years ago. Let's go back, 1964. And let's say, wow, how about we not sign that shit? How about we just say, you know what, let's go to war? The reality was there was no way for us to do that. You know why? Because we went away from black liberation, which was Marcus and Malcolm, and we went to passivity, which was Martin and A. Philip Randolph and Rosa Parks and the rest of them niggas. That's the truth. We put and we had Jews all over all over the place. This is something that I'm learning very recently, to not trust that whole movement because it didn't mean anything but put us in this position right now where those cops now have the free reign to do whatever they want to do to us. There's actually a law on the books, and I forgot the name of this law, but it's a law that's in Baton Rouge that basically protects the cops from any form of violence on them. Any type of, even if you didn't punch them, you didn't push them, you could breathe on them funny. Or if they see you as a threat, they feel the need to protect themselves. So they can find a way, again, of course, whether you lying or telling the truth, documentation is your best friend. So you can create any form of lie that you can to protect yourself, all the while killing black people. This law is actually on the books right now. That at any given time, something happens, they can sit up here and feel threatened by anything that we do, and they can shoot us right out in the street. These are things that we have to know. We can't keep playing games with this and thinking like, okay, no, Matter of fact, it's right here, and I'm going to read this out to you. Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards, Democrat, signed the Blue Lives Matter bill into law, making the state the first in the nation where police are considered a protected class under hate crimes. And this is to give the references from Empress Segment from Instagram, but that's on the books. You understand? They have protection. So even if we sit up here and say, well, they have protection against you. So the question becomes, in every excuse that a Negro is going to make, I'm going to create a barricade around you Negroes to every Negro excuse. like a maze. That the barricade is going to be a bunch of a maze to block you from making your buck dancing and shucking and jiving excuses for your white friends or the friends you think you have. Because I'm not going to hear anything else, and I don't want to hear it no more. I don't want to hear it. Only deal with those who are about solving problems and who are about black liberation. Again, we ask ourselves, how do we get in this mess? We trust the wrong group. We trust the wrong group of people. We sat there and we put our mind, and this wasn't us, but it was our people. We really thought that Dr. King was just this person. This is a Dr. King bash moment, but this is reality because we have to learn from our mistakes. A. Philip Randolph, Rosa Parks, how many of them can I name? Andrew Young, Ralph Abernathy, all of them. The Jessies, the Sharptons, all of them. Is leading us into a gas chamber. They're not even when we talk about something that's separate but still dealing with black genocide, abortion, none of them are talking about the fact that that's the number one killer of black women is abortion. Or black people, period, is abortion. Black children, abortion. Black people, abortion. None of that is even talking about. That's my saying. If you don't have an allegiance to white people, as you pretty much shown us, why aren't you warning any black people on a real ground level what they're doing to you, what they're planning? Because I know you know. I'm talking to the black politician. I don't trust none of the motherfuckers. I'm just keeping it honest.
Yeah.
Why aren't you even warning anybody? Why aren't you opening your mouth? Because you got to realize these blacks made their allegiance back in the early 1900s. You got to realize this is a long allegiance that they had to white people for years. This isn't a game that the thing is, you got to realize, even though this goes back over 100 years, the effects of it and the inner workings of it is still going on to this day. It's still going on because these people passed on that ideology. The Boule still exists. You got a Boule society here in Houston that at some point we're going to have to take the wool off of that and start showing that these motherfuckers are doing whatever they can to have this allegiance to white people over black people. They don't care what happens to us as long as they have their place in the house of white people. So these situations will continue to go on. That's why I say just look at the people. After this goes on, the blacks that will sit up here and say, all we got to do is go to the courts and we'll let that prevail, knowing that it has not prevailed for us ever. Not one time. I can sit here and go back to, at least recent stuff that I can remember within the past 15 years of, let's say, Amadou Diallo. I didn't even go back to Rodney King. Amadou Diallo. And nothing happened to them. And we can keep going down the line. You're telling me I'm still supposed to go to the courts? And if someone says yes, that's your enemy. You mean wow. So after all these situations, even with Sandra Bland, it was clear she did nothing wrong at all. You're going to still have people try to find a way. The fact that you're saying this, I don't care what race you are, the fact that you're trying to justify it by saying she did something wrong, even if you're a black person, I'm not fucking with you. You're my enemy too. Because you'll sit there and teach your children that, well, if you do this, you're at fault for this or you're at fault for that. So you need to do this. You're still perpetuating that whole Negro shuck and jive mindset in your own children. You're not going to do it to mine, no. You're not going to do it to me. That's it. It's time to push all that shit to the side. We as black men got to have to protect our women and children. That's our innate function. There's no,
right.
Oh, that's a misogynistic ideology. Fuck you. Truthfully, fuck you. Because if you're going to win, if you're going to turn this into a debate, fuck you. Truthfully. That's how I straight up feel at this point. I'm not going to sit up here. I'm going to look at you like you must be legally retarded. If you're going to sit up here and have this conversation with me trying to debate, well, that's not real. No, our jobs have always been to put ourselves on the front line, because what are you really fighting for? What are you really living for if you're afraid? Because I say the biggest, part of the movie, let's say Crash. The biggest part of the movie Crash, I'll never forget, was Terrence Howard's character in that movie. I don't remember. People can remember, Ludacris's part, Lorenz Tate's part, all that, but just the key part of that movie and the fact that the person who made that movie put that type of Negro response to Terrence Howard in that movie shows how they perceive us as a people. I don't even know the director or producer or writer of the movie, but the fact that in that movie Crash, I want people to go back and look at that movie Crash and just Terrence Howard's response to what was happening to his wife, who was being assaulted. And you just sat there and he was that scared of a black man, he did nothing about it. See, my thing is this, and this is something my boy Marion said today. He was like, "Well, shit, they killing us anyway. What you scared for?" That's like, again, as I keep saying, a bully is still punching you in the head. He's already kicking your ass. So why are you scared? He's already killing you. Are you that desensitized by whatever ideology? Are you that indoctrinated that you can't even go back to your natural innate response to protect your women? That you can't even say, you know what, fuck this. I know he got a gun. I got a gun. I don't give a fuck if I got a knife. Fuck it. I'm not finna go out and just be scared and piss your pants. It's time to start doing this. We don't have any respect for there's no respect coming from our women because it's shown how desensitized we are to the situation. We're not willing to lay our bodies down. It ain't this ain't being a man is not just about having sex and paying the bills in the house. That right there needs to stop. It ain't just about how much money you make or how good you are in the bed. It's what are you willing to do when the time comes to protect your family? Even if you don't have children, you have a wife, a girlfriend, that is your family. That is your woman. It's time out for this. It's time out for trying to go about it the lateral movement. I'm going to let you say what you got to say, but let me just say this first, please. It's time for us to stop making these lateral movements away from something that's coming directly at you. Because, again, you would never make a lateral movement against me if I walked up on you and slapped you in your face. You would not step to the side. You'd be ready to fight. So that shows how indoctrinated, again, you are to fight against someone who looks like you over something very insignificant. But when something is done to you by another race, you ain't got nothing to say. You ready to take it because in your mind, I deserve this. Because you agree with their ideology about you. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't be going through it. You would do whatever you can to stop it. Anyone have anything to say?
That's true, brother. Like I said, go back to the point. We have to protect our women. We have to develop that trust, and we protect ourselves and protect our women. And let's look out for one another. We have to unify. More now than ever. You know, and I know that some things I don't agree with Minister Farrakhan, but he's been preaching about us doing for ourselves. We got to be doing that. You know, we have to do for self. There's no way around that. If they're not going to protect us, we have to have a network where we look out for each other. We have to unify.
That's it.
More now than ever. It's more intense now. These devils are showing you who they really are now. They're manifesting themselves. And you got these old chicken-head Negroes that walk around, well, we must pray. No. And then before, Jesus ain't coming back to save you. He'll turn his nose up at you.
Right.
That white Jesus is turning his nose up at you. What are we going to do now?
Right.
We got to fight for ourselves. We got to show the God within us and fight for ourselves.
That's it.
Even if a sister don't, well, why you don't know? Do it anyway. Just like I did, Sister Gap. I did it anyway. Sister, I'm staying here anyway. Till you get in your car, you drive off.
Yeah. She'll thank you later.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. She'll thank you later.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be sure and develop that trust with each other, black man and black woman. We got to stop all this damn fighting, all this bickering. You know, let's get off these, quit being programmed by these old silly-ass reality shows and all this other dumb stuff, which is another issue later on. And let's unify. We need each other more now than ever. I love my black woman. I'm not trying to fight you. I'm not at war with you. I'm at war to protect you. Mm-hmm. We got to do that. No matter what. And they might not, hey, so what? I'm protecting you anyway. Stand still.
Yeah. I just saw if you can as well. I just saw I'm on Facebook now. My mate Brittany had just shared the GoFundMe page for his family. So if you can go on, it's up to you. Whoever's on that can hear this. You go on her page, Brittany Kilgore, and you can donate to his family because they don't. That could have been what he was doing out when hustling, whatever you want to call it. That may have been his way to pay the bills. You don't know that. He may have had another job, but all we know is that black man was out there trying to survive, do whatever he could do, and we don't know whether his wife was working or not. We don't know, and none of our business. At the end of the day, this is our family. We have to see it from that standpoint. This ain't a separate family. This is us, because that could have been us. That could have been me. That could have been you. That could have been any black man in the street at any given time. I could walk to a corner store right now, and a cop could just suspect me of doing something and kill me. That's where it is. I don't have time to play. We got to do whatever we can do. At least to this extent, we can rally around his family. That's it. We rally around his family and do whatever we can for his family. That's at least we can do. That's at least we can do at this point, because there's nothing we can do. He's already gone. There's nothing we can do. And I understand people don't want to see, I'm tired of hearing about it. No, you don't need to be tired of hearing about it. You need to hear about it as much times as you can, because the more you see something, human psychology says that at some point you're going to make a change, and that whatever it is going to impact you. It doesn't matter what it is. The more you see something, you're supposed to be angry. If you're not angry about something like this, you're not a human being no more. You're a robot. Let's keep it real. If you're running around here saying things like, well, he shouldn't have been, or he should not, I'm talking about as a black person, he should not have been, then you are heavily indoctrinated about whatever you believe in, and you need some type of psychological help. Because if you couldn't see this as partially yourself or fully yourself, you couldn't say, damn, that's me. If you couldn't, as a black man, say, damn, that's me, then something's wrong with you mentally. Because we've all, as black men, have been at that position in our lives where, you know what I'm saying, I feel for him that, man, I got to do what I got to do to survive. So everybody knew who he was. He wasn't a threat to nobody. He wasn't out there robbing nobody. He wasn't doing nothing wrong that he shouldn't have been doing. He was out there doing whatever he could to provide for his family. And you willing to demonize a man for that? You a bitch. As a black person. Straight up. Because you mean to tell me you've never been in that situation as a man? What does that say about you? Something's wrong with you. Something's wrong. I don't care what organization it is. I don't care what ideology it is. If you as a black person, I'm going to hammer this home, beaten with a dead horse till it bleeds again. If you want to sit up here and make excuses for what they did to a person who looks like you, then you should sit over there with them. You on the wrong side, because you're not on the side with me. You need to stay over there with them, take your bitch ass over there with them, and get the hell away from us so we can do what we need to do what we need to do for ourselves. That's it. We got to be done playing games. because I'm tired of it. Get tired of talking. Every time you turn around, we having a conversation about, here goes another one. We got a hashtag Alton Sterling. Oh, my God. Hashtag this one. Hashtag that one. Come on, white folks. You see what you're doing. You see what your cops are doing. Oh, man. Because it's easy to just, the thing is, I'm going to shut it down, after this. It's easy to just say the cops, because then you can make that into a general statement. It's just the cops. But you gotta take it from this angle like this. When we dealt with slavery, from what I've learned recently, was not just slave masters and overseers benefiting from us. It was everybody. You had only 5%, as they said, of whites in America, specifically America, owned slaves.
Excuse me.
But 99.9% benefited. Just think about that.
Excuse me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm a first time caller, and I had a question. I want to know what time will I be able to ask my question?
Go ahead and answer the question. Ask the question now.
Yes, sir.
Shut it down. But go ahead and ask the question now.
Okay, yeah. I'm doing a research on dying and rising gods. That kind of like how Jesus died and came back from the dead. And I want to know would you know any dying and rising gods that came back from the dead? But I need primary sources.
I don't know anything about that, brother. I don't want to take it too far away from the subject matter, because we're talking about a serious issue right now. But I don't know anything about what you just said about dying and rising gods. I don't know anything about that, other than Osiris, which I think you should go online and look up Osiris or Osiris and learn about him. Other than that, I don't know anything about that.
You said Osiris?
Osiris or Osiris, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. No problem, brother. But yeah, the thing is that you have to look at it from that angle that only 5% owned slaves. You had 5% of white people that were slave owners and slave catchers. That's compared to a lot. They'll say that's a small amount. Well, we weren't doing that, but you got to realize you had banks, you had different businesses, and they all were created because of slavery, and they all were owned by whites. So even with the abolitionists, they still benefited from slavery. In their mind, it was wrong to do this, but they still benefited from it. So you take that to now. You have all these situations going on right now. Every white person will tell you the same thing. Truthfully, if you talk to every one of them and you have these conversations about what's happening to black people, they'll all say, "Well, I'm not doing nothing. What this got to do with me?" Right? They're all going to keep saying the same exact thing. But you're benefiting because of your privilege allows you to basically be immune to what's going on. And you're not saying anything because, again, it's, as we say, self-preservation. They're preserving white lives, but they're killing black lives. And again, this is the focus that we need to have. Bottom line is that you are alone in this situation. You don't have anybody coming to save you. And once we learn that and understand that, truthfully, first off, we keep saying that, but we keep having these conversations with white folks where we're trying to prove racism exists, which is stupid, because they're the ones that created it. How could they not know? And how they not going to know if they're the ones that benefited? But anyway, we got to stop having those trivial conversations, even if they want to bring it up. Well, I'm like, even if you're at your job and they want to bring up Alton Sterling, just say, I don't want to talk about that. I really don't. They already got a file on your ass anyway. But I don't have any comment on it, and I don't really want to talk about it, to be quite honest with you. That's it. No. There's no conversation to have. I don't want to have a conversation about it. I don't want to talk about it. It's done. You have to have enough respect for yourself to tell white folks, you're not going to be in my business anymore. This is none of your business. None of your business. If you are also before I shut this down, because I know I'm going on, but if you are an integrationist at this point, you are also my enemy, because you are trying to justify having your white friends, white husband, or white wife, and still try to fight for black liberation, which is a contradiction. You can't do both. You're either going to sleep with the enemy or you're going to be on our side. That's it. You can't keep justifying coon, shuck, and jive behavior. Okay? Being integrationist has not worked for black people. It's only made matters worse. Okay? At least at a point where we were segregated, we knew who the enemy was and we knew what we were supposed to do. We knew we were in clear and present danger. We overstood that, but we still took care of our business for the most part. At this point, we don't know who the enemy is. We keep justifying saying it's our own or it's ourselves. We self-implode with the black-on-black crime rhetoric bullshit, and we don't prepare for self-empowerment and self-defense. You got to realize, if there's anybody that you talk to, just make sure that they're talking about some form of self-defense plan, not lateral sidestep movement that hopefully it's like you think your Negro ass is at a carnival and you can be that one duck that don't get hit. That's what you think you are. So you basically put yourself in a position that you're a sitting duck Negro not going to get killed, that hopefully I'm out the way of the bullet, knowing that if you look at that tape, they tackled this man to the ground, pinned him down, and shot him. So there was no way that he could have avoided that shit. Let's keep it real. Mm-hmm. If he would have fought the hell back, they would have shot him quicker. Maybe you need to go back and look at it one more time and get in your mind that you are dealing with a person who is an animal by nature. That's it. And once you realize, as I said before, John Henry Clark said, we have no friends. We have none. There's no one coming to the aid of black people except black people, and that's it. But you have to also look at the black people who are going to detour the energy into the usual buck dance responses, such as voting and waiting on the government to save you, because that ain't going to ever happen until you save yourself. The only respect that you will ever get from any other group, it don't got to be white people. It can be Asians. It could be Latinos. It could be anybody else, is when they see that blacks are not playing. It's like anybody. If you see a motherfucker that is getting punched in the face and you see them hit that person back and knock them out, you're like, wow, that dude was not playing. We got to do that on a world grand level, and specifically here in America, where every group knows not to mess with us. Doesn't matter who it is. So if there's any other questions that has to do with this specifically, then we can build it. Other than that, we'll shut it down.
Yeah, brother. I'm the first time listener, and I just want to say I caught the show, but I was looking for like some people I could link up with in Los Angeles. I don't live on the East Coast. Mm-hmm. I was just looking for like.
I'm in Houston, so I'm in the South. What you can do, I think you're on social media, right?
I'm on Facebook.
Like Facebook, Instagram. Okay. Are you in any groups?
Nah, in LA, the only thing we got out here is the Hebrew Israelites.
No, I mean I'm talking about like Facebook groups and stuff like that.
Not really.
Okay. What you can do, I mean, there's you probably get better results if you just do this. Just make that into a post. You'd be surprised who's probably out there, or at least go out of your way in Los Angeles to find a group, because I'm sure there's a group somewhere in Los Angeles. I used to know some. You know, every once in a while I actually see groups post that's in California, but I don't remember them offhand now. You at least go out of your way to find people of like mind in certain parts of Los Angeles, because that's Los Angeles. They're there. You know, they may not be the ideology that you're a part of, but they exist. So do whatever you can to find those people. You know, just find people of like mind. You'd be surprised when you run into people. Trust me, you'll find somebody. If you look hard enough, you're gonna find somebody.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What time? What time is your class?
My conference call usually starts. You're in Los Angeles, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's 6 o'clock.
Okay. Yeah, it would be 6 your time, so it would be about. It's 7 for me. I start the class at 7 o'clock, so that would mean that it would be 5 o'clock your time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the Mountain Pacific time. Yeah, it will be 5 o'clock your time, 7 o'clock my time. Because New York, it starts 8 o'clock their time and 7 o'clock my time.
Right. I remember it was a conference call or something. The YPS, they was in Phoenix stuff. I used to be on their call, but I don't know whatever happened to theirs.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions? We gotta start having real conversations, family. That's it. Just real conversation. Everything else needs to be put to the side, man, for right now. Seriously.
Okay.
No, serious. I'm just not you. I'm not talking to you specifically, just in general. It's just a closing statement that we got to start having real conversation and get with real people, because that's going to put all the fakers to the side. Everybody that's fake, that's talking about what we need to do or not having real focus, is going to show themselves now more than ever. You know, you got to push them. Just move away from them. Step to the side. Let them be unfocused on their own, and we have to do what we have to do for our own race. So with that being said, if there's no questions, I'm going to shut down.
I got one more, brother. Just can I get your email?
Yeah. You got something to write it down with?
I got something right here.
Yeah. It's ALI.
ALI.
AL.
ALI.
MAH.
M.
ALIAL. MAH.
ALIMAL.
No, you got it wrong.
Okay.
It's ALI. Start over. AL. M as in Mary, AH. DI. 999 @gmail.com.
Okay. Say it one more time.
It's ALIALMAHDI 999 @gmail.com.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. All
hey,
right.
how long the class last, Ali?
It's about an hour and 20 minutes.
Okay, cool. I just seen it on the book, man, so I just joined in late. It's Jordan.
Oh,
Used to come to class by the library with you?
Hey, what's going on? How you doing, brother?
What's going on, brother?
Not much. Did
Y'all
you have any questions?
Today.
Huh?
I didn't even hear it. I just joined in.
Yeah. No, we're talking about what needs to be talked about. The situation that we're dealing with.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
Nothing else. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I've been on for an hour and 20, so we're just going to shut it down. If anybody did miss anything else, I'm going to post a playback. The playback number is also the 641-715-3367, passcode 706-344#. So,
repeat the passcode?
Yeah, 706-344#.
Okay, same one.
Mhm. All right. Just gonna say, Hotep family, and you have a good night, and let's be productive and build.
Hotep.
Mhm.